Midnight, the mansion sleeps under heavy moon, but down in the cold stone wine cellar, the air itself is screaming. A single scream tears through the darkness, raw, desperate, cut short. There she is, 28-year-old Aisha Thompson, the quiet black nanny everybody forgets has a last name, tied to an antique chair with silk scarves that cost more than her yearly salary. Gasoline runs in slow rivers down her cheeks, stinging her eyes, soaking the simple cotton dress she wore to work this morning. And standing over her, diamonds catching the flicker of a gold lighter, is Clarissa Langston, rich auntie herself, wrapped in a cream silk robe that probably costs more than most folks' rent for a year. Her hand shakes, but her voice is pure poison. "You really thought you could take what's mine?" she whispers, leaning in so close Aisha can smell the champagne on her breath. "You thought you could steal my brother's heart? You're nothing but the help girl, nothing." Aisha's chest rises and falls fast, but her eyes, Lord, those eyes don't beg. They burn straight through Clarissa like fire already lit. Clarissa flicks the lighter. The flame jumps alive, small and hungry. She brings it close, so close the heat kisses Aisha's cheek, singes the tiny curls at her temple. Aisha doesn't flinch. The camera freezes right there, fire touching brown skin, diamonds flashing, two women locked in a hate older than this house, and everything cuts to black. 48 hours earlier. The gates swing open like they're doing Aisha a favor. The taxi crunches up the long white driveway and stops in front of a house so big it looks like it swallowed 3 normal mansions and still had room. Spanish tiles, marble columns, fountains that cost more than college tuition, everything screaming money that never had to say please. Aisha steps out clutching one small suitcase, the kind with the broken wheel she keeps meaning to fix. 2 years she's been coming here, 2 years caring for Mrs. Evelyn Langston, while the old woman slipped away inch by inch, and still they make her use the service entrance round back. She walks slow past the roses nobody ever cuts for her, past the pool nobody ever invites her to swim in, past the garage full of cars that could pay off her mama's medical bills 10 times over. The butler, Mr. Gerald, gives her the same tight nod he's given every single day. "Morning, girl," he mutters. "Not Miss Thompson, not Aisha, just girl." She swallows it same as always and keeps walking. Inside, the air smells like lemon polish and old money. She heads straight to the east wing, to the bedroom where Mrs. Langston lies small and fragile under mountains of Egyptian cotton. The old woman's eyes light up the second Aisha walks in. "There's my angel," Mrs. Langston whispers, voice thin as paper. Aisha smiles soft, sets her suitcase down, and gets to work, fluffing pillows, checking the oxygen, humming the old church hymns that make Mrs. Langston's heart monitor slow to something peaceful. She does it gentle, the way you handle somebody's last days, like every touch is a prayer. Clarissa watches from the doorway, arms crossed tight, lips painted the color of fresh blood. She's 35 going on 15, hair pressed bone straight, diamonds in her ears even at 9 in the morning. She's been watching Aisha like this for months now, eyes narrowed like Aisha's very breathing is an insult. Today the stare is colder than ever. Clarissa steps into the room, heels clicking sharp across the marble like gunshots. "You're late," she says, even though Aisha is exactly on time. Mrs. Langston tries to speak up. "Clarissa, honey, but Clarissa cuts her off with one raised finger. "Mother, please, the help doesn't need you defending her." The word help lands like a slap. Aisha keeps her eyes on the medicine bottles she's lining up, counting under her breath so she doesn't say what's burning in her chest. Later in the kitchen, the other staff keep their voices low. The chef, Miss Lorraine, slides Aisha a plate of breakfast she's not supposed to eat upstairs. "That woman been on the warpath since you started reading to Mama Evelyn at night," Miss Lorraine whispers, jealous of a dying woman's smile. "Can you imagine?" The housekeeper shakes her head. "Clarissa runs this house like it's her kingdom and we all peasants. Her brother ain't even here half the time, but she acts like she the queen and you the threat." Aisha just eats quiet, tasting nothing. She's used to being invisible. Growing up in the projects, you learn how to fold yourself small so trouble passes you by. But something about Clarissa's hate feels personal, like it's been growing roots long before Aisha ever stepped foot in this house. That afternoon, Mrs. Langston calls Aisha close. Her thin fingers clutch a thick cream envelope sealed with real red wax. When I'm gone, she rasps, give this to Marcus, only Marcus. Promise me, baby. Aisha nods, takes the letter, feels how heavy it is with secrets. I promise, ma'am. Mrs. Langston smiles, eyes already drifting. You've been more daughter to me than blood ever was. Aisha's throat gets tight. She tucks the letter into the hidden pocket of her dress, right over her heart. Night falls heavy, the house quiets. Aisha finishes her rounds, kisses Mrs. Langston's forehead one last time, and heads downstairs to the tiny room they let her use behind the laundry. She's bone tired, but sleep won't come. She sits on the edge of the narrow bed, pulls out the letter, turns it over in her hands. The wax seal gleams. She was told to burn it unopened if anything happened before Marcus came home. Burn it, like it never existed. She stares at the fancy L pressed into the wax and wonders what truth is so dangerous it has to die with an old woman. Upstairs in the marble hallway lined with ancestors who never smiled, Clarissa moves like a ghost in silk slippers. She saw Aisha take the letter, saw the way her mother's eyes softened when she handed it over. Jealousy is a living thing inside her chest, clawing. She waits until the house is asleep, then creeps down to the servants' wing. The door to Aisha's room is cracked open. Moonlight spills across the floor. There, on the little nightstand, the envelope sits like it's daring her. Clarissa's fingers tremble as she picks it up. The wax is still warm from Aisha's pocket. She shouldn't. She knows she shouldn't, but the need to know is bigger than fear. She slides one perfect nail under the seal. The paper whispers, "Open." Clarissa's eyes scan the first line, then the second. Her breath catches hard. The letter slips from her fingers, floats to the floor like a white flag. She stands frozen in the moonlight, face drained of color, lips parted in a silent no. Whatever truth Mrs. Langston took to her grave, whatever bomb she planted for her son, Clarissa now holds in her shaking hands. And down in the wine cellar 2 nights from now, that same truth will be the match that lights the gasoline. But tonight, the house is still quiet. Tonight, nobody knows the fire that's coming. Nobody but Clarissa, standing in the dark with a secret that will burn everything she loves to the ground. The flame kisses Aisha's cheek for only a heartbeat, but that heartbeat feels like forever. Heat blooms across her skin, sharp and bright, before Clarissa yanks the lighter back with a hiss of triumph. The smell of singed hair fills the cold cellar. Aisha's breath shakes, but her eyes stay locked on the woman who just marked her like property. Clarissa's chest heaves, diamonds glittering with every ragged breath. "That's just a taste," she whispers, voice trembling with something close to pleasure. "Next time I won't stop." She drops the lighter into her silk pocket, turns on her heel, and leaves Aisha tied in the dark, gasoline cooling sticky on her face, one thin line of blood mixing with the fuel where the fire grazed her. The door slams, the lock clicks, and down there in the silence, Aisha starts to hum, low and steady, swing low, sweet chariot, like the song itself is armor. 3 days earlier, the poison had already started dripping. It began small, the way the worst venom always does. Aisha woke up to find her paycheck short by half. The envelope sat on the kitchen counter like nothing happened, but the numbers didn't lie. She stared at it so long the cook, Miss Lorraine, finally nudged her. "Clarissa say times is tight," Miss Lorraine muttered, eyes on the floor. "Say we all gotta make sacrifices." Aisha folded the thin paper, slipped it into her apron, and said nothing. Same day, Clarissa appeared in the doorway of the tiny bedroom Aisha had slept in for 2 years and announced it was needed for storage. "Basement's warmer than you deserve," she smiled, sweet as spoiled milk. That night, Aisha carried her suitcase down narrow wooden stairs into a room with one bare bulb, a cot that smelled like mold, and a window painted shut 20 years ago. The cold crept into her bones before morning. Next morning, Clarissa floated through the breakfast room in a white dress that probably cost more than Aisha made in a year. She held a crystal glass of orange juice in one hand and a full bottle of red wine in the other. Aisha was on her knees polishing the marble floor, hands raw from bleach. Clarissa stopped right in front of her, tilted the bottle slow, and let the wine pour like blood across the one good dress Aisha owned, the simple blue one she saved for church and funerals. Stains spread fast, dark and permanent. Clarissa laughed, light and tinkling like she'd told the cutest joke. "Oops," she said, eyes shining. "You should be more careful where you kneel, girl." The other staff froze mid-motion, butler with the silver tray, maid with the dust rag. Nobody breathed too loud. Aisha stayed on her knees, wine dripping from the hem onto the marble she'd just made perfect. She looked up, met Clarissa's eyes, and wiped the floor clean with the ruined dress like it was nothing. Clarissa's smile faltered for half a second. Then she walked away, heels clicking victory. Night after night it went on. Clarissa found new ways to remind Aisha she was disposable. She'd wait until Aisha was carrying Mrs. Langston's dinner tray, hot soup, soft bread, the only real meal the old woman could keep down, and bump her hard enough to send the bowl crashing. "Clumsy," Clarissa would sigh while Aisha cleaned broth off antique rugs on hands and knees. In the hallways she'd whisper loud enough for everyone to hear, "My brother will never see you as more than the help, sweetheart." Don't kid yourself. Staff kept their eyes down, jobs were scarce and mouths to feed were plenty. Silence became their prayer. But Aisha never cried where Clarissa could see. She'd wait until the house slept, then sit on the cold basement floor and let the tears come quiet. She'd press her mama's old Bible to her chest and whisper the words she'd heard since childhood. "They can take everything but your dignity, baby. Hold on to that." So Aisha held on. She sang under her breath while scrubbing toilets, while folding laundry that wasn't hers, while spoon-feeding a dying woman who called her daughter in soft moments nobody else got to witness. That was the part Clarissa couldn't stand. One evening, the sun bled orange across the windows as Aisha sat at Mrs. Langston's bedside reading Psalm 23, the way the old woman loved, slow, with feeling. Mrs. Langston's thin hand rested on Aisha's wrist, eyes closed, lips moving along with the words she knew by heart. For a moment the room felt like church. Clarissa stood in the doorway watching, face twisted like she'd tasted something sour. She'd never once heard her mother ask her to read the Bible. Never once felt those fragile fingers reach for hers. When Aisha finished and leaned to kiss Mrs. Langston's forehead goodnight, Clarissa stepped into the room like a storm. The slap came fast, open hand across Aisha's face, loud enough to echo. Every maid, gardener, and cook in the hallway froze. Aisha's head snapped to the side, lips splitting, warm blood touching her tongue. Clarissa stood over her, breathing hard, diamond bracelet flashing. "Know your place," she hissed. The staff stared at the floor, hearts pounding, terrified to move. Aisha straightened slow. She touched the blood on her lip, looked Clarissa dead in the eyes, and said nothing. The silence stretched tight enough to cut. Clarissa smiled again, smaller this time, like she'd won something ugly. That night the house felt heavier than usual. Mrs. Langston slipped into sleep and didn't wake before morning. The monitors slowed, then flatlined gentle while Aisha held her hand and sang one last hymn. Upstairs, Clarissa drank champagne alone, telling herself the old woman was finally gone and good riddance. She didn't come to the bedside, didn't shed one tear. Hours later, when the moon hung low and cruel, Clarissa found Aisha in the kitchen writing the time of death in the logbook. Something inside Clarissa snapped clean in two. She grabbed Aisha by the wrist, nails digging deep, and dragged her down the back stairs to the wine cellar. Bottles worth thousands watched from the racks as Clarissa shoved Aisha into the same chair from nights before. She tied the silk scarves tighter this time, knotting them like hate itself. Then she fetched the red metal can from the garage, the one the gardeners used for the lawn mower. The gasoline smelled sharp and hungry. She poured it slow, watching it soak Aisha's hair, her dress, the ropes, the floor. "You think you're family now?" Clarissa's voice cracked. "You think you get to cry over my mother while I get nothing?" Tears ran down her own cheeks now, hot and real. She pulled the gold lighter from her pocket, flicked it open. The flame danced pretty and orange. "Tonight I teach you a lesson nobody forgets." Aisha lifted her head, blood still crusted on her lip from the slap. Gasoline strung her eyes, but her gaze was steady as steel. For the first time all night, she spoke quiet, clear, like Sunday morning in church. "Whatever you do to me tonight," she said, "the truth is coming with the sunrise, and when it does, Miss Clarissa, you gone, wish you never laid hands on me." Clarissa froze. The flame trembled between them. Something flickered across her face, Fear, maybe, or memory of that letter she wasn't supposed to read. Half a second, that's all the doubt lasted. Then she laughed, shaky and mean, and lowered the lighter toward Aisha's gasoline-soaked skin. The whoosh of fire swallows everything. Aisha's sharp inhale is the last sound before the screen slams to black, and the darkness holds its breath, waiting for morning, waiting for truth, waiting for whatever comes after flames. The flames climb Aisha's shoulder like hungry fingers, orange and screaming, eating cotton, eating skin. Her inhale is sharp, cut short by pain that whites out the world. Then water hits, cold and shocking. Blankets smother the fire. Hands pull at ropes. Voices shout over each other. Miss Lorraine's cry rips through the smoke. She's breathing, she's breathing. Someone drags Aisha up the cellar stairs, past racks of wine that cost more than lives. Her legs won't hold. The night air slaps her burned face as sirens get louder, closer, until red and blue lights paint the mansion walls like Judgment Day. Strong arms lift her onto a stretcher. She hears Clarissa somewhere behind, voice high and thin, lying already. It was an accident, she did it to herself. But the lie cracks the second the paramedics slam the ambulance doors. Tires scream down the driveway. Aisha slips under, the smell of burned hair following her into the dark. Dawn bleeds pink across the estate when the helicopter blades cut the quiet. Marcus Langston steps onto his own lawn like a stranger, coat flapping, eyes bloodshot from a red-eye flight across the country. He hasn't set foot in this house in 3 years, maybe 4. The staff part like the Red Sea when he storms through the front doors, shoes leaving wet grass prints on marble that cost a fortune. Nobody speaks. They don't have to. The smell of smoke still hangs in the air like an accusation. He finds Clarissa in her bedroom, silk robe half-buttoned, face bare of makeup for the first time anybody can remember. She starts smiling that practiced smile. "Marcus, thank God you're..." But the words die when she sees what he's holding. A letter, edges blackened and curled from fire, wax seal melted into a scar. He doesn't yell, his voice is low, broken glass. "Sit down, Clarissa." She doesn't, she can't, her knees are already shaking. Marcus opens the letter with hands that won't stop trembling and starts reading out loud, like he has to hear it again to believe it. The first page is his mother's handwriting, shaky but clear. The second page is a lab report, black ink, official seal, numbers that don't lie. His voice cracks on the words, 99.9997% probability of paternity. The room tilts. Clarissa grabs the edge of a chair to stay upright. Marcus keeps reading, every sentence another knife. 29 years ago he was 21, in love with a girl named Denise Thompson who worked summers in the university library. She was beautiful, sharp, black, and his family lost their minds. They threatened to cut him off, threatened her scholarship, threatened worse. He chose money, he walked away. 9 months later, Denise had a baby girl alone and never told him. Years later, when Evelyn Langston found out her husband had paid Denise to disappear, she did the only thing her guilty heart could think of. She tracked down that little girl, Aisha, and hired her to care for the grandmother who was dying of shame. Paid her next to nothing just to keep her close. Watched her grow into the gentle woman who read Psalms and held her hand at the end. Protected her the only way she knew how, by keeping her downstairs, keeping her secret, keeping her safe until she could tell Marcus herself. Marcus looks up from the paper. Tears slide down his face, real ones, the kind money can't buy. "Aisha is my daughter," he says, voice raw. "My child, the one I threw away before she even drew breath." Clarissa makes a sound like a kicked dog. Every memory hits her at once. The slap, the wine poured on purpose, the gasoline running down Aisha's face while she laughed. Her stomach turns. She slides down the chair legs and hits the floor hard, silk robe pooling around her like spilled milk. "Marcus," she whispers, crawling toward him on marble that's cold as a grave. "I didn't know, I swear I didn't know." Her fingers grab his pant leg, nails that once drew blood from Aisha's wrist now clawing for mercy. "Please, please don't hate me. She was just the help." Marcus steps back like her touch burns worse than flames. He looks down at the sister he's given everything, cars, houses, endless credit cards, and says the words slow so they cut deep. "You almost murdered my child, my child." The sentence hangs in the air like smoke that won't clear. Clarissa sobs so hard her body shakes. Mascara runs black down cheeks that have never known shame until this morning. She sees it now, clear as sunrise. The quiet girl who never cried in front of her, who sang hymns while scrubbing floors on bruised knees, who kissed their dying mother goodnight when she herself never bothered. That girl was blood, was air, was everything Clarissa pretended to be. Power flips in a single breath. The help was royalty all along, and the princess just tried to burn the queen in a basement. Marcus turns his back on his sister's tears. He walks out the room without another word, down the grand staircase where portraits of white ancestors stare down like they're finally ashamed too. The staff watch him go, eyes wide, hands over mouths. He doesn't stop until he's in the ambulance bay at the hospital, until he's standing beside a bed where Aisha lies wrapped in gauze and morphine dreams. Machines beep steady. Her beautiful face is swollen, skin blistered along one cheek, but she's alive. He takes her hand, careful, like it might break, and presses it to his lips. "I'm here, baby girl," he whispers, voice cracking again. "Daddy, here now, and I'm never leaving again." Back at the mansion, Clarissa stays on the floor long after the sun climbs high. The house feels different already, quieter, like it knows its real mistress is coming home to claim what's hers. Somewhere in the distance another helicopter approaches, this one carrying lawyers, reporters, truth that can't be burned. The staff whisper in the kitchen, heads high for the first time in years. Miss Lorraine wipes tears and smiles real small. "The Lord don't sleep," she says, "and blood don't lie." Because sometimes the person you tried to destroy is the one God sent to remind you that every human being carries a throne inside them. Treat the least of these with cruelty, and one day you'll look up to find the king or the queen you poured gasoline on sitting high above you, scars shining like a crown. Dignity ain't given by mansions or money. It's born in you. And when it rises, even fire can't keep it down. The sun sits low and gold over the rebuilt mansion, fresh paint gleaming like the house itself got baptized and came up new. 1 month has passed since the fire, since the truth, since everything Clarissa Langston thought she owned turned to ash in her mouth. The tall iron gates stand open today, but not for welcome. A single black town car idles on the gravel. Clarissa waits beside it, smaller than anybody ever thought possible. No diamonds in her ears, no silk robe, just a plain grey coat and one battered suitcase at her feet. The woman who once walked these grounds like a queen now looks like somebody waiting on the corner for a bus that might never come. Her eyes are red-rimmed, face bare, hair pulled back simple. She keeps staring at the front doors the way a drowning person stares at the shore that won't let them back. Inside those doors, Aisha Langston, walks slow down the grand staircase she used to scrub on her knees. Her skin still carries the pink shine of new scars along her neck and cheek, but the simple white dress she wears makes her look like light itself. No jewelry, no makeup, just quiet power in every step. The staff line the hallway now, heads high, smiling soft, because the house finally belongs to somebody who knows what it's like to sleep in the basement. Marcus stands at the bottom of the stairs, watching his daughter come toward him, eyes wet like they've been wet every day since the hospital. He still can't believe she's real, can't believe he gets to say "my child" and mean it. Aisha stops at the front door, hand resting on the frame for a second, breathing deep. Then she steps out onto the porch, warm evening air brushing her face like a blessing. Clarissa sees her, and the last piece of pride she's been clinging to crumbles. The suitcase handle slips from her fingers and hits the ground with a hollow thud. She drops to her knees right there on the gravel, palms open, forehead pressed to the earth. Aisha walks on. The mighty have fallen, and the fall is loud. "Aisha," she chokes out, voice raw from crying every night since the truth came out. "Please, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, I didn't know. If I had known." The words break apart into sobs that shake her whole body. She reaches out like she wants to touch the hem of Aisha's dress, but stops short, hands trembling in the air. "Forgive me, please, God, forgive me." Aisha looks down at the woman who poured gasoline on her skin, who laughed while it burned, who called her girl instead of human. For a long moment she says nothing. The wind moves gentle through the trees. Somewhere inside the house a clock chimes soft and slow. Then Aisha does something nobody expects. She lowers herself to her knees too, white dress brushing the dirty gravel, and reaches out. Her fingers, gentle as ever, lift Clarissa's chin so their eyes meet. Scars shine on Aisha's cheek like quiet armor. Her voice comes out soft but steady, the same voice that sang hymns through pain. I don't need your apology, Miss Clarissa. I needed your humanity back when I was scrubbing your floors with bleach burning my hands. I needed it when you slapped my face in front of people too scared to speak. I needed it when you lit that flame. She pauses, lets the words settle. You didn't have it to give then, but I'm giving you something anyway. I forgive you. Not because you deserve it, because carrying hate would make me just like you, and I won't let you steal my peace twice. Clarissa's sob catches hard in her throat. Tears fall fast onto the gravel, dark little spots on grey stone. She tries to speak, but nothing comes. Aisha stands up slow, brushes the dust from her white dress like it's nothing, and turns her back. She doesn't look again. The gravel crunches soft under her feet as she walks away from the woman crying at her heels, away from the past that tried to burn her alive. Head high, shoulders straight, scars catching the last of the sunlight like badges of honor. Marcus is waiting at the bottom of the steps. He opens his arms wide, and Aisha walks straight into them. For the first time in 28 years, a father holds his daughter. His big hand cups the back of her head gentle, like she's made of glass, like she's made of gold. I got you now, baby girl, he whispers into her hair. I got you. Aisha closes her eyes and lets herself be held. The little girl who grew up without a daddy's arms finally feels them, strong and real, and never leaving again. Behind them, the mansion stands tall and quiet, ready to be a home instead of a prison. Clarissa stays on her knees long after the town car door shuts and the gates close with a soft clang. The sound of tires on gravel fades into evening birdsong. She is alone now with the truth she tried to kill, alone with the mercy she never showed. And somewhere deep inside her chest, something shifts, small and painful and new, like the first crack of light in a tomb. The camera pulls back slow, higher and higher, until the mansion looks small beneath the wide golden sky. Aisha and Marcus stand together on the porch, father and daughter, silhouettes wrapped in the last warm rays of the day. Her scars don't hide, they shine. And as the picture fades to soft black, a voice, deep and rich like Sunday morning, speaks gentle but firm over the quiet. Never forget, the person you look down on today might be the one carrying your blood tomorrow, might be the one carrying your blessing, might be the one God sent to show you who you really are when nobody's watching. True wealth isn't houses or money or names on a building. True wealth is seeing the divine spark in every face, even the ones you called the help, even the ones you tried to erase. Treat people like royalty, because one day you'll turn around and discover some of them actually are. And when that day comes, you better hope they carry more grace than you ever gave. Fade to black.